Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick-and-mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I'm passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love, because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you are meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inspire and Move podcast. And today you are in for such a special treat. I have such a special guest who is with me in our home studio, who is in Ontario visiting, and that is the one and only Dr.Lori Bouchard. Lori, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ali. Thank you for having me.
We have been talking about doing this for months.
Well, a year, I think. A year.
And I insisted that it has to be in person.
Exactly. It's not the same over Zoom. Definitely not the same.
No. And you guys, Lori is an absolutely incredible cancer doctor and clinic owner and naturopathic doctor. And we met in the Elite Entrepreneur Mastermind that is hosted by Chris and Lori Harder, also dear friends. And you and husband Matt also have so many little connections from the past.
Exactly. That from being raised in the same city, but then also, aren't you from Winnipeg?
Yes.
I have a clinic in Winnipeg as well. So all these different connections of who we know and even just the community that we're in. Yeah, we have a lot of roots together that we're finding out, which is so exciting.
Oh my gosh, I love all those connections. I remember in the first in-person mastermind event, you and Matt were in a lot of the same groups. And Matt and I were not in the same groups for good reason. So we would come home or back to our hotel room at the end of the day, and he would tell me all these little amazing things. He was like, okay, did you know this about Dr. Lori? And did you know this about Dr. Lori? And it was amazing.
I thought that was really funny too, because we met in California and we live 20 minutes apart in Canada. So yes, that is great.
And you also live in or just outside of Tulum.
Yeah, so I moved to Mexico 3 years ago, and my clinic is here in Ontario, and then I have 2 clinics in Manitoba. So I do come back and forth. But yes, my home now is in Mexico.
Okay, so this is an amazing place to start. And I want to talk first about how you started your clinics and what you focus on there. And then how did you transition into being able to build this? Is it fair to say expat life where you get to have this duality of the clinics that you run here in Ontario and Manitoba, but also live in this beautiful climate that's warm and sunny, and there's sand and beach, and as we record this, it is the dead of winter. So I'm really romanticizing your home there in Mexico.
Yeah, as we look out, there's dead
branches,
trees, no sun. Where's the sun? It's nowhere to be seen. So there's a lot to unpack there. I was raised in a very natural home. I was never given pharmaceuticals. I actually rarely went to the doctor either. I thought there was something wrong with my mother. I'm like, why would you not take me to the doctor if I'm sick? And she would say, Lori, your body is meant to heal on its own when given the right tools. So every symptom that you have is a sign that your body is imbalanced and maybe lacking something. So I was raised to think, food is really important, what we fuel our body with. Also supplementation, looking at all the things that can really help our system. So I was very envious of friends who could just go to a doctor and get a pill and, their symptoms would be gone, versus me. I was at home drinking tons of water and all these supplements. I was doing colon hydrotherapy at the age of 10 because I had a sore throat. So literally I'm like, well, Mom, what does having a sore throat have to do with me having a colonic? Why would I need to clean my bowel for something that's totally in a different part of my body, right? And we think like that. We always think because it's showing up here, we have to fix that issue. But really looking at the gut health and how that affects our entire system. Most of our immune system is in our gut. Even our happy hormones come from our gut. It is really the dictator for so many things of our health. So I learned from a very young age and somewhat traumatized, thinking she's actually crazy to be doing these things with me. But over the years when I was hardly ever sick and I saw, my friends getting their appendix out, their tonsils out, taking a lot of days off school, all those things, I'm like, you know what, maybe my mom's not so nuts. And it really forced me to learn more about the anatomy, physiology, biochemistries of like, she may be onto something of treating the gut health, looking at our whole system and how it can help with all conditions across the board. So I was raised in this very naturopathic household. So it made sense for me to go into that avenue. It was really my first patient who I saw who, before even thinking about seeing patients with cancer, this gentleman, he had chronic migraines. He was debilitated. He's about 40 years old. He had a very high executive job. So just working all the time, go, go, go. And he was developing these chronic migraines. So he had seen a neurologist. He got all the scans done. They could not figure out what was going on with him. So after 5 years of literally being critical care, like on his couch, not being able to work, totally on sick leave, he ended up giving this new naturopathic grad a chance because I don't know if you're familiar with the Oakville Beaver. It was a newspaper.
Oh my God, I am.
And you had to pay like $500 for this tiny little piece in the newspaper. I'm like, I'm going to just like promote myself because social media wasn't a thing back then. So I'm like, I'm just going to put my ad in there. And I guess he felt sorry for me. He's like, who's this girl that's like dying for work? As a new grad. So he came out of like, well, maybe I'll give her a chance.
Who's this hot doctor in this 8-page newspaper? I'm going to call her.
He's like, she must be. Yeah. So anyways, he came in to learn like what else, like the neurologist couldn't fix him. He was on 5 different medications that were very harsh on his system. Nothing was budging with his chronic migraines. And for him, it was super fascinating because he always thought he ate well. He's like, I work out all the time. I do everything right. Why is this happening to me? This doesn't make sense. But when you start to really dig into like, are you doing everything right? Like what we think is healthy and normal is really maybe not, working long hours, staying up late, a lot of blue light exposure, circadian rhythms all off, and just skipping meals. So maybe not even nourishing himself enough. What we found out with him was after doing tons of testing and just understanding what's going on with his system, he had chronic candida. So candida can be expressed in many different ways, not just gut issues, but can make you feel tired. It can create migraines, can create heartburn, can cause depression, anxiety, and a lot of what's called dysbiosis in the gut. So with him, we were doing colon hydrotherapy pretty much every day for an intense, like he was so desperate. You can tell if a man is open to doing colon hydrotherapy.
I would love to do that every day. Sign me up.
Like, what is this? He did not want, like, he was not excited about the process, but he was so desperate to change. And he now, actually, it's been 17 years, and he's still, every year he messages me and he's like, thank you so much. He's like, I've got my life back. Like he now has grandchildren and he's like running every day. He feels incredible. So he really had to be that desperate of, like, what else can I do to get his life back? So things like that, where patients they feel like they're healthy and they feel like they're doing all the right things, and they almost have to like exhaust all other avenues prior to coming to see myself. So I want to change that, where entrepreneurs and where people can, get tested regularly and prevent these types of things happening. So, so that's how I started my journey in naturopathic medicine, just getting these like really chronic disease cases where people have exhausted everything. And then is when I first got my first cancer patient come in too. I did not want to go into oncology. I was actually quite intimidated about that field, thinking it's a $1 trillion business, right? And like, what is this naturopathic student who, I was 24 years old when I graduated. I'm like, what am I going to provide for people with cancer when they've got these experts all around the world and, this incurable disease, right? But yeah, my first patient with cancer, he was in a wheelchair, given a month to live, completely just like slumped over, had no life to him. Like he was strolled in by his wife, and she's like, he's done all the chemo, done all of the things the doctors had said. He was given a month to live. We're told to get our affairs in order, and we just want to see what naturopathic medicine can do. Like, how can we help him? I'm like, oh my God, this is like this is a very big request to ask after doing all the things, and he's given a month to live essentially. So at that time, I decided to look at, what do other people in the world do for cancer? What do they do in Europe? What do they do in the States? What do they do in conventional, but maybe alternative medicine too. Like, how can I help this person who has exhausted everything conventionally, right? And so with him, same thing. I looked at what is the root cause. Like, without knowing so much about cancer at the time, I looked at him as a human. What does a human need to live? What are the things that are knocking out his system? We know chemo completely abolished his body. He was so toxic and inflamed that I looked at him as a human being and what does he need to survive? So it was with that very first patient where he looked at me, he's like, I am willing to do whatever. I will do everything you say. I just want to see my grandchildren, when my first grandchild be born by the end of the year. So 6 months. If I can get 6 more months, I will be so grateful for your support. So I'm thinking, we can do that. We can do 6 months. And I looked at him and he just had so much hope in his eyes too. Like he was just like, I can't go. Like there's no way I can go right now. I need these 6 more months. And I felt almost like it was like if it was my dad, you know, it's like, okay, if this was my dad, like what would I do? So I looked up all the things, I researched all the things, like what can I do to help prolong his life? So after working with him, he ended up living 10 more years. 10 more years.
Oh my gosh.
10 more years. So he was the reason why I got into cancer care, because he essentially told everybody, he had this like, not really, but basically like a big sign being like, go to this clinic if you have cancer. She saved my life. I'm like, well, I gave you the tools and I gave you the methodology and the treatments, all of that. But he had this like unbelievable will to keep going, right? And so even though he was sent home to die, he's like, I'm going to see what else I can do, right? Most people would just kind of give up at that point. Like, you know, I've given a month. I'm just going to say my farewell, right? But he had so much faith that he can keep going and exhaust all resources. So for him, he not only saw the one grandchild be born, he saw 4 more grandchildren be born. He got back to golfing and doing the things that he loved to do. So completely walking and exercising. So it's really amazing to see the power of the human body when given the right tools. And that's something I've always grown up to believe, but not many people believe that. They think, you know, the doctor said this, so I'm going to go home and I guess I'm meant to die. But it takes a very strong perseverance, you know, like badass attitude to be like, who are you to tell me what my timeline is? Like, you don't know what else I've done or what else I could do. So I think about him quite often because I wouldn't be in cancer care if it wasn't for him. So I've seen thousands of patients with cancer, and I can say that is the number one characteristic, that you have to believe that you can heal. If you believe what the doctor says, it's kind of like, well, like maybe that's true, but maybe it's not, right? Like you have to have that faith and perseverance. So I am just that guide to show you of what your body can do. And I am the biggest cheerleader beside, right? Even to the very last day, I'm like, we can do this. Like, I don't believe, like from what I've seen people end stage, I have seen the body do incredible things. So I never give up hope ever.
I love that. And I mean, I feel like I have heard that in a conversational standpoint about the will to live and determination. And again, you and I met in a mastermind room. And so we know that having that mindset around goals and things you want to achieve is crucial to actually achieving them versus just, I want to do this and I'm going to pay this coach or pay for this advertising or this social content, but it's the commitment to it. And so is there even a percentage that you've seen with patients that when they have that will or just the journey, like this one goes down this path and this one goes down this path?
Yeah, there's actually studies on that. So it doesn't say like you've got the positive attitude and, you know, like I'm going to fight this, that you do better, but it's actually, the studies are on the opposite. So if you give up and you say, and you're depressed and you feel like, you know, there's no hope and you're feeling helpless, then you actually, there is research to say that you do worse in your prognosis. So that positive attitude, I do feel, is going to be encouraging you to make action steps, to make the changes, to increase the likelihood of doing better. But yeah, if you have the opposite, if you gave up hope and you just don't see the point, then that is likely what's true. There's actually a doctor, Bernie Siegel. He wrote a book called Love, Medicine, and Miracles. Oh. He's a medical doctor surgeon who does surgeries on people with cancer, and he has them, super interesting, he'll have them draw a picture of what the patient feels their outcome is going to be after the surgery. And so just say they draw a picture of like blood everywhere and it's like dark and just very depressing. He won't even do surgery on them because he believes that mindset is that important to their positive outcome. So if they draw a picture of this, like, rainbows and like, I'm going to be feeling so good after, and it's going to be a flawless surgery, everything's going to go great. That is such a critical piece that he shows the research for as well. So highly recommend that book where he looks at it from more of a naturopathic perspective, even though he's a surgeon for oncology.
So that's Love, Medicine, and Miracles.
Yeah.
I'm literally writing that down, and we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, it's that mindset piece of just, really, no matter what people say, you really have to be that experiment of one, right? Like nobody is like you. Nobody has the same genetics as you, support team, all of the things to have an improved outcome. Nobody can tell you. So if a doctor does say something like that of like, oh, you've got 6 months to live. And I hear that every day where they'll give a crazy prognosis where it's like, well, do they know the things that you're changing? Do they know how your diet's going to change, or, what supplement plan you're going to be on? Do they actually look at that? Because I'm pretty sure they assume you're going to go home and just rot and you have 6 months and that's what's going to happen. So I don't think any doctor should ever say a prognosis like that, right? Because they don't have all those tools. They don't know what the person's going to, and that can really mess with your mind. Like if I was told I can't even imagine how that would feel
gosh,
to say
same.
like, you're going to be gone in 2 months. It's like, what?
It's a lot, and that's not that much time. When you think about what you would need to do in that, let alone processing it emotionally, take action if it is affairs and taking care of your family, assets.
And it's a trauma. It's a trauma.
Oh
it's almost
gosh.
as like a gun isn't pointed to your head. It's like you would go into paralysis. And how can you even think about action steps of like, what should I do next? It's almost like you're frozen of this like,
I would need like
it's a death sentence.
5 days emotionally to process it, let alone like, okay, now what do I do? I actually would love to circle back to something that you were saying before about so many of us, myself included, think that we are healthy. And the difference of, what we think that means of, drinking lots of water, lemon water in the morning, eating your greens, protein, moderate carbs, exercise, 10,000 steps a day, 8 to, let's say 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That those are things that I think like, oh yeah, I do that. I take great vitamins. But when it comes to like truly the world of healthy living, what does that look like?
Yeah. And I feel like most people also define their health, whether they're healthy or not, based on their energy, right? Like knowing cancer and a lot of diseases are actually a metabolic mitochondrial disease, right? We know that the more inflamed someone is, the more, around chemicals or just the stressful lifestyle, they're going to feel more tired. And that's usually because their mitochondrial health is damaged. Okay. So your mitochondria, you have millions of mitochondria throughout your entire system, and they're like the energy centers for the body. And so if you think about, if you have healthy mitochondria, you're able to make ATP and make energy. So that's kind of like how I think of, I know not many people think about health like that, but if you have lots of energy, usually you think, oh, you must be really healthy, right? Versus someone who needs a lot of sleep, can't get a lot done. They just feel they're yawning all the time, brain fog. And that lack of energy is usually what people would say like, okay, I'm not the healthiest version of myself, or I need to have a reboot kind of thing. So what was your question?
Just talking about like so many of us think that we follow, these things to be healthy.
Yes.
But truly what it means is that, what types of foods are you eating? What types of supplements to be truly healthy and preventative when it comes to disease?
Okay. So even for myself, I think like I feel really great. I feel really healthy, but I look at my blood work at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, just based on, how much I'm traveling and how much I have going on. But I really don't think anyone can say they're healthy or not until you have that data to back it up. And I have a really good example of this where I started doing, I started following a keto lifestyle where I'm only eating just like high fats, proteins, and really minimal carbs. And then I started doing HIIT training, just a lot of like intensity of workouts. And I'm like, this must be really healthy because that's what the research says, right? I ended up doing my blood work and my clotting factors were through the roof. My liver enzymes were high. My inflammation was through the roof. And it was too much stress on my body. And so only until I really pieced together my genetics too, of like, I don't rebound very well after exercise. I should not be on keto because I have fat metabolism issues. So there's certain things genetically, like that just are not great for me. So when I looked at my blood work, I thought, this is really scary. Like I looked like I was about to have a stroke. Like that's how bad it looked. So sometimes we think like, oh, I'm following this, keto diet, or I'm vegetarian. And I felt really good too. Like there's no reason to think that I would have anything wrong with me. But then only until I looked at my blood work. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of just getting, and this is something I could provide on the show notes too, of just, these are the list of labs I think everybody should have, whether you feel like you're doing everything right or not. And you can have in this handout that I have, it gives you optimal values, because what I see too is the reference ranges for conventional care. I don't know if you see this, but there's a reference range of what is healthy or not. So if you're in this range, then you're good to go. But I look at more of optimal levels. So to give you an example, like iron storage, so ferritin levels should be for women, between 50 and 80. So that's like a healthy number. In conventional, do you want to know what the reference range is that you're
scared.
healthy? It's between 5 and 232. So as long as you're within that range, the doctor is going to be like, you're good. But you're like, well, I'm kind of like crawling on the floor. I have no energy. Like I'm hemorrhage with my periods every month. But like, yeah, I'm good. Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And so what they do for blood work is they look at the average population of what their lab numbers look like. And so as long as you're like within the average, they say that you're healthy. Right. And so that's why it's really important to look at this blood work and say, well, what is optimal? Like, I don't want to be lumped into the average. Like, if you look outside, the average person is not healthy. They're not.
No.
Most people are overweight. Most people are tired. Most people are they have one or two chronic diseases. So we don't want to be compared to the average ever, right?
No.
We want to be feeling amazing and have tons of energy and lower risk for all diseases. So yeah, this handout I have is really helpful if you want to just know, okay, what can I ask my doctor for? What are these lab markers that I could check for to really give me a gauge? Because that data is so important in order to make changes in your lifestyle too. So I now, anytime I do a switch up of saying like, maybe I'm going to try, doing this type of detox, or I'm going to follow this type of meal plan or change my workout routine, I always get blood work done a few months in just to make sure that everything does look good.
Okay, now for context, when you were talking about the keto diet you're following, doing the HIIT training, how old were you in terms of like, were you 27, 32, 40?
Yeah, I was 35.
Okay.
35.
And then now like today, I need to know what kind of lifestyle you follow. Like what workouts do you do? How much do you sleep? What foods do you eat? Supplements? You need to tell me everything
All of it.
that people want to know.
Well, I mean, okay, so this is also changes where I live, because I find who I'm around and what my lifestyle is like which country I live in, it also changes drastically. So I found when I live in Canada, all I do is work, and that's it. Literally no hobbies. I don't ever go on dates with my husband. It would literally be, I am obsessive. Way too obsessive over my clinic and what I do for work. And also I have 3 children too. So you imagine my kids, like, right?
I remember when you told me that, I was like, what? Like, did they come out of your elbows? Like, and what? How old?
So
amazing.
These 3 children, it's such a struggle as a mom entrepreneur, because your business is like your first baby, right? And then you have these children, and it's the best thing ever, and it's so great, but you do love what you do. It's so fulfilling, and you help so many people. And it was actually when my oldest was 7, where I'm like, wow, time is going really fast. I need to get my priorities in line here and set better boundaries for myself. So now I find I have a better, since living in Mexico, I can shut off at a certain time, and I can say, okay, now I'm mom mode, and I can be supportive. But I also think it's super healthy for kids to see their mom have a passion and love what they do, right? And that was actually the first time when I was in Mexico where a lot of my friends they don't work. So I'm like, what do you do?
How do you spend your days?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do every day? So they're like, well, I, go to the pool, or I'll have like a tennis lesson, or I'll go to yoga classes. I'm like, oh, what a concept to have all these things that you just do in the week. So I'll always go for runs, I'll go to the gym, I'll do that. But to actually like sign up for hobbies and lessons and, like have a trainer those were things I never really prioritized before.
Interesting.
It was really, I let work take over everything. And it took me to be in a third world country to say like, wow, what am I doing inside on a computer when I should be outside getting fresh air, running, swimming, doing all the things. So now the past 3 years, I've been more active than I ever been. Like I'll bike my kids to school. I'll run beside them. We'll go rollerblading every day, at least for 2 hours. I'm doing something active.
Oh.
So that's a big change. Whereas in Canada, I felt like, yeah, you just want to kind of sit inside and hibernate. Like I get that. Like even in the past 2 weeks of being here, I'm just like, so what do people do?
Yeah, I've not been outside and I've not gotten my 10,000 steps or, whatever it might be that's important to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much to me if you took a few seconds and shared this on social media, sent it to a friend, or left a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I'm so grateful to have you part of mine.